Jada.
Maria.
I don't know how many people know this, but you and me, both civil engineers.
Oh.
Both went to Duke.
Both went to Duke.
Both landed
Not in engineering.
not in engineering or in North Carolina.
Or in North Carolina. Never planned to stay there, though, so.
So how do you deal with the question when people say, oh, you studied civil engineering, now what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a question I was asked in every single interview I've ever had. It's pretty funny. I mean, I'm just like, yeah, crazy story, guys. I practiced engineering, I realized I hated it, and then I tried something else. An odd thing is that people love engineers, so it was pretty easy.
They also totally overestimate
Our abilities.
what we can do.
Yeah, they really do. But good for me.
Yeah,
It
and
works out
especially
well.
because I feel like I like civil engineering, but like of the engineers,
Yeah.
we're not like.
No, we're not. So I actually switched from ME to civil.
Yeah, exactly. That says enough. But when they hear it, and then it's like, well, what do civil engineers do? Like, well, buildings
Bridges
and
and aqueducts,
Right.
you know, stuff like that.
And like, oh, you must be good at this other thing that has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I can critically think.
But nobody ever asks you the question of like, if you were really good, then why aren't you doing that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so funny because in interviews they would literally, oh, what's your major? I'm like, civil engineering. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you can think. And they're done.
No math.
Like, no math questions, done. They're like, oh, so tell me other things about yourself. And just like a great conversation. So all those late nights and all-nighters paid off in the end.
And investment banking.
And investment
Not civil
banking.
engineering.
Not so, yes.
So
Yeah.
I know my side of the story, but the way that you got into Invanti was we were coming down to the last few weeks before we were going to start this cohort. And I don't know how this happened, but somehow like we had gotten the number 6 in our head. So it's going to be 6 people for 6 months in South Bend. So we were recruiting for 6. But like we were like very clear that like we're only going to take 6 if we find 6 good ones. Otherwise, we'll take less.
Right.
So we were at 4, I think, at the time. So I went back through every email that I'd ever had from our, I'm not going to say fake website, but like coming soon website.
Yeah.
And I realized like I think you had sent an interest form. I don't know if I replied. I think I replied.
Yeah, you did, but I was just
And then
it was crazy busy at the time. Yeah.
So I emailed everybody on that list again.
Yeah.
And then you emailed back. And then we got on the phone. But we're like 5 weeks out.
Yeah.
I remember talking, so we talked, like had a good conversation about what we were trying to do. And I remember trying to convince you that like we would be doing a second cohort.
Yeah.
And like you should apply to that one.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what if I want to do this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was easy. I mean, I was working on my own thing already.
Yeah.
And
You're in Brooklyn.
I was in Brooklyn. Yeah. So it was pretty easy. It was easy for me to say, you know, I didn't need to be in Brooklyn. It was just, I like Brooklyn and it's a great place. So we had a great conversation and I really enjoyed learning about what I could do here. And like I said, it came from Howie Ree, which I always refer to as the startup god at Duke. So if it comes from him, I can trust it. And so I was like, why not? And like I said, like my gut told me, just do it. Like, what do you have to lose? There's nothing to lose. 6 months minimum, right? Like, it's not that long in the grand scheme of things. So why not?
I'm curious what your first impression was because you were working on a startup before.
Yeah. It's hard, right? Right? So working on a startup by yourself or with someone else, it's hard. And this presented a different opportunity, right? It was, yes, you can do that, but you can also have, you know, a good space to work on the daily, plus access to a lot of people that are also doing this and like people that have come together to help you do it. And that makes it a lot easier. Like it's not easy to do it on your own and to be doing those, constant, outreach on the daily and just trying to figure out, like, it's nice to have people to bounce ideas off of. So I think I was at a position where I thought that was very valuable and was able to realize that, right, because of what I had already been through.
And by the time you came in, I think the other 4 had already committed.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like scope them out while you were making your decision? I can't remember if we
No,
connected
I
you.
didn't.
No.
I didn't. I think I talked to you guys about what's South Bend like, and I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I talked to my best friend after, because she's like someone I talked to about a lot about this stuff. And then my other best friend that was in New York with me, and he's like, it sounds cool, you should do it. I was like, yeah, my stomach says I should do it. And like after that first conversation, I was like, I'm gonna get in. Like there's no way I'm not going to. And yeah, that's the arrogance speaking. But I just knew. I was like, I'm gonna get in. Like I'm moving to South Bend in a few weeks, guys. And they're like, what? What? Where did this come out of? I'm just like, I'm just doing it. Just prepare yourself. Like, what do you think of it? And they're like, yeah, you should totally do it.
Yeah. And I think you arrived on the first day. I think Dustin picked you up from the airport.
Yep. Well, not on Monday.
Straight.
We had a barbecue.
That's right.
Labor Day barbecue.
Drove you straight to the barbecue.
Yeah.
And that was that. I think you're the first one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I ended up being the first one, even though I was the last one recruited.
So
Crazy
what
how
was that
things
like?
work.
What was that like meeting this guy
Yeah.
in person and everyone else?
I don't know. I like people. I like meeting people. I think Emily's place was a great place to start off, right? Good food. It was very relaxed. That I wasn't sure what to expect, but then I met Emily and Ben, and I was like, okay, cool. This is great. Yeah. So that was a good, first day. And yeah, when I landed here, I was just like, what did I sign up for? Like getting to this airport.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to think. So I get a little scared, obviously, or uncomfortable. But then the first week is pretty awesome. We spend the first week roaming around and meeting people, and getting acclimated to being in South Bend. So it was good. And yeah, I guess I've settled in at this point.
I'm curious because the startup you were working on before came from, as I understand it, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Came from a problem that you personally experienced.
Yep.
So what was it? So it seems like a little bit of that was already baked into how you think about starting things.
Yeah.
But what was it like walking in with nothing and just being like, well,
I think
the race is on to find something.
Yeah, I think my only concern was that I would latch on to something, or I wouldn't. Yeah, I think my concern is that I would latch onto something and continue doing it, even though just trying to find something to work with, instead of just saying, hey, no, move on, go on to the next. And it was funny because it was actually kind of the opposite. It was very easy for me to discard things immediately. I was like, nah. Like, there's a lot of things that I thought were very interesting, but there was none. If I didn't see that there's a space almost immediately for, any innovation, then I wasn't going to pursue it any further.
How did you think about that? Like, what was your criteria?
It's like I would look at a lot of it's looking at what's already out there, like what in the payday lending space, right? There's so many people because it's such a huge problem. There's so many different companies popping up trying to solve in different ways, and same with the alternative credit scoring. Mm-hmm. And those two spaces, I was just like, I'm not going to touch, because for me, it's it's a hot space. A lot of people are raising money for it, and it's a good cause, but I think there could be some good done other places. Yeah. And my talents are probably best fit in other places because I think there hasn't been much disruption in those other places.
So you were one of two that I would say hedged at the beginning by working on more than one thing. Did you do that intentionally? Yeah, definitely. My goal was to work on 3 at the same time. But I just didn't have enough person to do it. Yeah. Yeah, and it was 2 places I was genuinely interested in, right? Like the Yomi was small dollar lending, and that was a lot of it was from personal experience, right? It's from my own family experience. Yeah. So it's something that was very near and dear to my heart. And we talked about that in the first phone call. Yeah. Because we talked about savings. Yeah, exactly. And stuff like that. Yeah, it's something that resonates with me a lot. I'd love to see it go somewhere. And then the mortgage space, I think was probably more. It was interesting because of how much it was talked about, 1, so it's kind of a challenge. And then 2, because of just what I know about the actual investment side of that space, right? So mortgage-backed securities and all the financial crises and going on a trading floor and watching these guys trade, those MBS. So that's what fascinated me about it. So I just did both of them. Yeah.
And honestly, most of my focus was on UOMI for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That was really what I wanted to go and take off.
Where's the flip?
I think the flip was when I realized the potential of Hurry Home. Right, so like, okay, the UOME of small dollar lending is pretty awesome, but I think what really gets me excited about Hurry Home is the banker in me. It's creating different markets, and having a secondary, tertiary, all those types of markets. Like that's what excites me about it. Yeah.
What is so part of the thing, and you've talked about this in other places too already, is like the network of South Bend, and like talking about this problem. What was like for you when you were deciding what problem to work on? Because like I'm assuming you didn't know that this was an issue before you came
No,
here.
I didn't know about the mortgage issue at all.
So what was that conversation that made you say like, oh, I think I could. There is opportunity here. 'Cause it's not just
It
an
didn't.
interesting
Yeah,
problem.
no, it just didn't seem that hard, right? It just seemed like disconnect. Like I didn't think that there was anything really out there stopping people from getting into this market. And I actually thought people were in this market and doing it in a small scale.
Yeah.
And we knew that. Like what we have, the vehicle we use now, people do it. It's a current workaround.
Right.
So why can that not be done at scale?
Yeah.
Right. So it didn't seem like there were any real impediments beyond regulation.
Yeah, which I think was one of the things that we came into the cohort thinking could happen, is that like we wouldn't necessarily always create something brand new that was like super crazy innovative, but that if you could get down on the like, ground level and watch what people were doing
Yeah.
on one-off cases, if you could find a way to scale those things, they could be impressive.
I mean, that's a lot of businesses though, right?
Exactly.
It's just figuring out what people are already doing.
Especially I think now where you can leverage technology into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like,
Exactly.
thinking about what that looks like.
Do you remember the first time you heard about this problem? It's probably somewhere in that first week.
I'm trying to think back to the first person that mentioned that. I don't remember the first person. I only remember Sam. But yeah, I only remember Sam. I don't remember the first person. But I know Sam, and then also, what is the Latino Community of Commerce? Juan. I think we may have heard about it in Chicago. We went to Axion, yeah. But I think the last time I heard it, or not the last time, but I guess the most important time I heard it was Sam, when he said, this is what people are doing, this is a problem, they already do this, and they're buyers and sellers ready. So that's everything. That's everything you could ever need. So I think then I was just like, yeah, it's on my list of things to look into.
What was so thinking through, okay, like came across something pretty early that you thought was interesting. And then to the point, I mean, you guys now are like close to raising money and launching something. What was the process like, especially compared to your other startup, in terms of like working through it the way that we had thought about the process of like digging into these problems?
What was different, or what was the process like?
Both, yeah.
I'm trying to think how different. So we start off with a problem pitch, right? Yeah, I guess you don't typically start off with just like really digging into the problem. So I think the only like real new thing within that process was laying out like a systems map. Like I've never done that. I think I do it in a different sense, like not in the same sense that you guys did it. But yeah, I think that was something that was pretty interesting, especially when it got to the mortgage issue, or even it helped me get to something that I thought would be good for the small dollar lending. So UOMI, because there I was able to figure out like, okay, these people are definitely not paying for this. These people are definitely not paying for this. So it really helped kind of triangulate on the parties that actually would be involved in something like this, and what can we use, to either de-risk or or like design for, So yeah, I think that was probably the biggest thing I'd say that probably had the biggest impact.
How far did you think you were going to make it in the 6 months?
Oh, I was getting out of here with a startup or two. I don't think that was ever a question in my mind.
Do you feel like you're meeting those expectations?
Yeah, I think so. Close enough, yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious, because I think most people, like 3 of the people that we've talked about this with are like, I had 0 expectations. which was like cool in one sense, and I think is helpful for one track of mine. I think the other track of mine that's helpful is yours, which is like, I'm gonna figure it out no matter what. But I think it's interesting because I think like we had no idea if 6 months was right. We had no idea if like the starting point we put you guys on was right.
Yeah.
Like all those things, and it seems like thus far, I don't know. It might just be because this is the way we did it.
Yeah.
But it seems like we could put you guys in a position to be like ready to make the next step.
Yeah, no, I think 6 months is cool if you want to spend the time actually looking at two other things. Because think about it, if I did not spend my time on one other thing, this would be a lot further than it is right now.
Well, you and John, right? Like you guys were both looking at.
Yeah.
Like so, between the three of you, or two of you, had three different. Projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe 6 months is really not needed, especially but that's also assuming that I'm in South Bend, right? Because South Bend, I was able to get meetings pretty quickly and actually talk to people that I needed to talk to. So.
What was the hardest part about? So like, a lot of people have said that it's easy to get meetings, like we could go pretty quick. What was hard about that process, though?
I guess it's just like the actual meeting, right? Making sure that you're getting the information you want, and figuring out what to really believe in versus what you take with a grain of salt. Because you have to consider what their perspective is, right? So like if a banker says, oh, the markets are very efficient, okay, like obviously they're not. Yeah. So I mean, there's people you have to, they have great information, but it may not all be fitted, to your needs.
Yeah.
So sifting through kind of all that information.
So being from LA, working for a while in Charlotte, New York, like what has the communication back to those people been like over your 6 months?
It's, the first question is like, where are you? So that's pretty
Please
funny.
tell me you've at least sent a map one time.
Yeah. They're like, where are you? But I think it's they think what I'm doing is cool. And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's not really like, where are you? Or that's not the meat of the conversation. It's like, what are you? Well, okay, you're there, but what are you doing there, and why are you there? So that's.
How did you describe those things before they were like? Because like right now, when you pitch it, you can basically pitch it like it is a startup. What was it like explaining before that?
I would just explain that it was like a think tank that's here to support me while I try to figure out what I want to do, right? Like what problem I want to explore, what startup I want to put my energy into. And I think people are very receptive to that, right? Because who out there is sponsoring you to build your own startup?
Yeah, I think this is amazing to me. That it's like, in some ways, it really wows people. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Like that you would start with people before they have the ideas.
Yeah.
But then, like when you think about like the way you just explained it, just seems like, okay, Jada's already decided that she's going to start a startup, so she needs she doesn't know what one it is yet, so she needs some time and space.
I need support and runway.
Right.
Like that's what I need.
To figure it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that complicated when you explain it like that. As like a concept that this is just something that we could do more of.
Yeah.
To get more people involved. So the alternate descriptions of what we do are interesting to me because we still have trouble sometimes explaining. They're like, no, they really just come in with nothing, and we really do just give them a list of problems and a list of people and say go.
Yeah.
With a little bit of stage gates and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So kind of looking back, I think our support of you has evolved a little bit over the time. I'm curious kind of your perception of that. We definitely have our thoughts on kind of the role we play at the different stages. So I'd be curious to hear kind of how you see Dustin and I kind of fitting into how Hurry Home is developed.
Yeah, I think at this point you guys would serve more as advisors, right? And that's kind of how I looked at you guys the whole time I've been here. It's like, do I need help understand or running through something? Do I want to bounce an idea off someone? I would go to you guys, right? Or if I'm stuck, I'm like, I don't really know. My line of thinking doesn't work this way. how would you guys think about this? And I think that's been a role that I've kind of seen you guys in the whole 6 months. And going forward, I think you fit well in that role because you're the only two that actually understand probably the majority of this business, or you understand it more than anyone else would, at least from the process that what we've been through, how we got here, and potential avenues for us to go, right? Because you guys know all the research we've done, and you're privied with this research as well.
What talk about the cohort as a whole, because you did work with, like, you started out working with Aaron on Small Dollar Credit, you started out working with John, and now you and John are only team. But like more generally, what has it been like amongst the five?
And like on a day-to-day basis, it's pretty chill. I mean, it's like a regular kind of startup environment. Where you chat kind of amongst each other, play, Sports Center, whatever, and then like catch each other up every now and then, like, oh, like I'll ask Aaron sometimes, where are you at? Like, what's going on? Because we don't talk about it on the daily, right? And it was, especially in the research phase, it was cool to like work with someone, right? To really kind of have another person ask questions and figure out, like, did I understand this completely different than you did? And really go into meetings with that person. Like, it was nice to have kind of two brains in those meetings asking, different sets of questions. Yeah.
What questions do you have for us?
I didn't know this was an interview. I would have prepared
Now it's an interview
accordingly.
Of an interview.
Would have prepared accordingly.
That's why we don't tell you. It's off the cuff.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. This is really hard.
We've given you 5 months to prepare.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. Sorry. Really out of questions for you at this point.
Perfect. There are no more questions.
There are no more questions. I think, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I guess, how do you guys see yourself fitting within our startups?
Open question.
Yep.
Or how would you like to fit within our startups?
Yeah, I think the way we've been looking at it is 6 months we're going to support you to get you to the point where you can kind of take off.
Right.
I think our mentality shifts after the 6 months to say, now our time is a resource that we're going to invest, right, in kind of helping support the things that come out. So I think that's very much the mentality that we have as we're thinking about the different, and because I think each of you have different needs kind of moving forward. So I think we are actually excited to have those conversations with you guys individually to say, what do you need? What can we provide? And then what does that kind of look like going forward? I don't think there's ever going to be, at least in the short term, like a cookie cutter. Yeah. This is what happens during the 6 months. Here's what happens after.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, for me it's a little bit more complicated, I think, because like the balance between, part of what we wanted to go after was like we're like co-founders. It's like we'll like get into like the nitty-gritty with you. At the same time, there's definitely like no denying that there's like an advisor type like relationship as well. And for me, I think like maybe more so than Maria, that's like difficult balance because I get so into
the co-founding aspect
working on that like sometimes I have to pull myself out because I think, I don't know, like these things excite me and I like to dig in, and like even balancing my own time of like how much time should I be looking into housing deeds on the blockchain versus maybe thinking more broadly is tough. But definitely going forward, I think it's more like as long as we can be useful, we want to be. Right. But I'm not convinced. Like there's going to be a point where like the venture is probably going to be so much different than
definitely.
what it is now.
Yeah, that's probably a very quick point.
Right.
Well, and the ventures outgrow our skill set. Yeah. We've always talked about we want to be really good at this really early part. Right. And where's the handoff then to the people who can be better at helping you with the next stage?
Yeah. I think you're starting to feel that with some of the people that you guys are connecting with. Like they know what to do with what you have now, which I think like 2 months ago, they don't know what to do with you. Just like they sit down and say, so Like, what are you?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just here to ask questions. You know what I mean? But now it's like, here's what I'm working on. This is what I'm trying to do.
Right.
And people know how to like advise in that way.
I think so too. Yeah, it's very hard for people to understand what was going on before. I mean, a lot of people were just like, so you're students? Yep.
Sure.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, which is so weird to me because like internally, I feel like it was not. Like this was never something we talked about like as a group of like, oh, what is this? It was like we just like brought you guys in, gave you the stuff, and you guys just started work. Like it's like you knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
Which is like interesting to me because it's like a disconnect. But I think like the people like yourself where it's like I'm going to start something. I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like the kind of mindset that we need for people when they come in.
Try to recruit some people for you.
Yes.
Don't try, just do it. Yeah, no, I'm interested to see what cohort 2 looks like compared to you guys.
Yeah, you guys will do better. It always gets better. So that's good. That's good. I do think
The
you guys
next
have
class
done
is
like
always-
the beginning, like the first 2 months of this very well. Like very well.
I want to hear about you working with John. What is that like?
We have 2 minutes. And he's right there.
Yeah. It's fun. It's been interesting. Yeah, I think we're both alphas, so it gets kind of nasty sometimes. But yeah, it's been fun.
I think it's a good thing. Like I think like the key to for you guys going forward is figuring out how to communicate well. But if you can, like I think your 2 styles of thinking are going to get your venture like far. But it was cool to watch. Like I'm glad we had one team come out of it, which is like kind of crazy to me too because there's only 5 of you. So to think that we could put 5 like almost random people in a room and have a team come out of it is surprising. But I'm excited. And if Invanti, we've said this 3 times now, if Invanti doesn't work out, I'll be looking for a job.
We'll put you on the short list.
Fair enough. If you need someone to transfer everything to the blockchain, just let me know.
Got it.